Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start our day with the Troy, I'm going to call over the Troy Industrial Development Authority Board of Directors for the Audit and Finance Committee meeting. It is March 27, 2024. It is 10:08 a.m. We are going to start with, the minutes from the March 24th, 2023 committee meeting. We don't actually have a quorum with, I think, enough people that were present at that meeting to vote that. So we are going to park those minutes possibly indefinitely. Like, this is something that we had to deal with at the last meeting as well. This we might be able to do at the next meeting. We might have to reopen this for that. If we have the Sues here and Alex, well, not Alex. So no action on that. We're going to jump right into the 2023 audit presentation from Wojcicki & Co. So the gentleman, the floor is yours.
Put all over there.
You want to back up there? Sure, yeah. And if you don't mind, again, I know a lot of us were already here, but if you could just introduce yourselves.
Together?
We can split up.
Your stuff now.
No problem with that.
All right. If you can take one of each of these and pass it along. Thank you. And also one of each of these. All right, so I'll start introductions. My name is Frank Ferrucci. I'm a partner with the Wojcicki & Company. Here with me is Chris Stevens. He's one of our senior managers. Have in front of us Troy IDA report, byproduct of our audit. The first one is report to the board. It's a required audit communication. Second one that's being passed out is the audited financial statement.
Thank you.
Once you guys get settled, we'll get.
And
Thank you.
you guys got them?
Yeah, we'll just get them around again.
There's that confusion.
Yeah.
We are starting with the thin part of the IDA, and then we'll go into the thick part, and then the thin part of the CRC, and then the thick part.
Got it.
It's the easy way to remember.
Yes, thank you. Very tactile.
So make sure you have too thin, too thick, with different names.
Everybody good?
There's the thin IDA, yeah.
I think it might be right under here.
The thin one for the IDA.
I think it's that one.
Coming around if you don't have.
Oh, maybe.
There's four more.
Okay.
You gotta use words that everyone understands, you know? Thick and thin.
So I'll just throw that.
Financial terminology there.
Throw that there.
Okay, everybody good? Great.
All right.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody has in front of them the Troy IDA report to the Board of Directors. I'm going to walk through that. As I mentioned, this is a required audit communication. If there's any questions after that, Chris will go into the audit statements, then we'll open it up to the floor. So I'll start here on page 1 under significant audit matters. Management is responsible for the selection and the use of appropriate accounting policies, and the significant accounting policies for the authority are described in Note A to the financial statements. You'll see here there are 3 GASB statements that were required to be implemented in the current year. They did not have an impact on the financial statements or the numbers that we audited for 2023, but technically they were implemented, so we're letting you know that that was done if these standards were to come into play in future years. We noted no transactions entered into by the authority which lacked any authoritative guidance or consensus, and we believe that all significant transactions have been recognized in the financial statements in the proper period. On the top of page 2, it talks about accounting estimates, and they are an integral part of financial statements prepared by management. The most significant accounting estimate that we have here is the estimate of land held for development or resale, and is based on an appraisal prepared by a third party. We evaluate the key factors and assumptions used in determining that it is a reasonable estimate in relation to the financial statements taken as a whole. I'm happy to report that we had no difficulties in dealing with management in performing and completing our audit, and we also had no disagreements. I skipped correct and uncorrected misstatements within professional standards. We are required to accumulate any known or likely misstatements identified during our audit, other than those that are considered clearly trivial and communicate to the appropriate level of management. There were no such misstatements during our audit of the IDA. Management representation. This is bolded and italicized with a date, so the management rep letter is something we have to get from management before we can issue final on these reports. The date of that letter and the date of our auditor's report are required to be the same, so we'll sync those up once we get through this meeting. And that letter basically says that management provided us with information we needed necessary in order to complete our audit. It responded truthfully to our inquiries and provided us what we need in order to issue our audit opinion. Management consultation with other independent accountants, similar to obtaining a second opinion. Typically if there was a disagreement, this is where this might come into play. But to our knowledge, there were no such consultations with other independent accountants during the year. Finally, on the last page, under other matters, the first paragraph there, we're letting you know, it's probably you already know from previous reports, management has omitted the management's discussion and analysis information that U.S. GAAP requires to supplement the basic financial statements. Our report does reflect that, but that's no change from previous years. Second paragraph, we are engaged to report on the schedule of supplemental information straight leases, which accompanies the financial statement, but is not required supplementary information. And we compare and reconcile the supplementary information to the underlying accounting records and other records used to prepare the financial statements, and issue a report on that in conjunction with our auditor's report. And finally, the last paragraph there, we are not engaged to audit the report on the agency's annual report. That's your Paris report. But we are required on professional standards to consider where there is a material inconsistency in that report in conjunction with our audited statements in the report that we have in there. If there were a material inconsistency, we would have to note that in our report, or we would ask you to make that change in conjunction with the audit. To our knowledge, there are no material inconsistencies at this point, but obviously we'll finalize that before we issue it. Any questions on that document?
No questions?
All right. Next, we'll go through the package, a little thicker package, and it's the one that says financial statements, supplementary information, and independent auditor's report. I'm going to start on page 1 of this report. This is our independent auditor's report. Right on the top, it describes our opinion on the financial statements. It lets you know that we did audit the financial statements with Troy IDA as of and for the year ending December 31st, 2022 and 2023, and related notes to those financial statements. And that, in our opinion, the company financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the authority as of December 31st, 2023 and 2022, and the changes in financial position and cash flows for the years then ended. That's what we call a unmodified, or a clean opinion. It's essentially the highest level of assurance you can get on a financial statement audit. Next paragraph describes our basis for our opinions, essentially that we did audit these financial statements in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, as well as standards applicable to financial audits contained in government audit standards as issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. Next section down, responsibilities of management for the financial statements. Management is responsible for these financial statements. We did assist in the drafting of them, but management is responsible for reviewing them and taking responsibility for them. They are responsible for also implementing a system of internal controls that allows for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Management is also responsible for considering whether there's any indications that the organization may not be able to continue as a going concern 12 months beyond the financial statements, as well as in updating the report in the financial statements accordingly if there are such issues. Our responsibilities as auditors, there's quite a few items here. I won't go over each one of them, but I'll just kind of summarize. Essentially, our responsibility as auditors is to plan and perform our audit that allows us to express a reasonable opinion on your financial statements. Reasonable assurance is a high-level assurance, but it's not absolute assurance. An audit is tested via sampling. Not every transaction is tested as part of our audit. So there is always a risk that there might be a material statement included that is not detected as part of our audit. Required supplemental information on the bottom of the page. We do indicate in the report that the SB has been omitted. That is something that under professional standards we would not audit anyway, so the fact that it's missing does not impact our opinion on the audit on the financial statements. Top of page 3, we talk about supplementary information. As Frank mentioned before, in the report, there is a schedule of straight leases. This is required to be included with financial statements of the IDA. We do perform audit procedures on that information, and we do believe that information is fairly stated in all material specs in relation to the financial statements taken as a whole. Other information, as Frank mentioned before, we are required to read the annual report of the authority, the Paris report, to ensure that there's no material inconsistencies between that and the financial statements we've audited, as well as the audit information we've gathered as part of our audit. If there are any material inconsistencies, we would certainly request management to make changes to those prior to their issuance. And the last section talks about our report on the government audit standards, and I will address that when we get to that's at the end of the statements. We'll go over that when we get to the end of the statements. Page 4 of the financial statements. This is your statement of positions or the balance sheet for the organization. It does report total assets as well as total liabilities, and the difference between those, which is your net position or equity of the authority. Year over year, your total current assets remain relatively consistent. You see a slight increase in cash. You do have about $30,000 of restricted cash that's related to pilot payments that were received before year-end that haven't been remitted to the taxing authorities yet. Current liabilities due to other government, that $46,000 represents amounts that are due to other governments from pilot payments, either received or still owed to the organization. The next page, page 5, is a statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. This is essentially the income statement of the organization. I'll show you general operating revenues of about $368,000, made up of administration fees. The prior year, you did have some rental income related to the MLAC parcel that was sold in the prior year that you have in the current year. Operating expenses year over year did increase quite a bit. You have $379,000 in operating expenses. Most of that increase is related to professional fees, related to the geothermal project and other fees, and your administrative support fees paid to the city also increased by $25,000 in the current year. We saw a net operating loss in the current year of about $11,000, but you did also generate about $20,000 in interest income. That's mainly due to the positive interest rate environment that we're currently in, which led to a positive change in that position of $9,000 for the current year. Page 6 is your statement of cash flows. This provides information related to the source and use of cash for the organization. As you can see, you generated about $368,000 in positive cash flows from administration fees. Payments to vendors for operating expenses of about $350,000 led to a net positive increase in cash from operating activities of $19,000. Some interest led to a net positive increase in cash of about $40,000 year over year. Starting at page 7 and going to page 10, this is note A of the financial statements, which describes the accounting policy of the organization. With the exception of the new accounting standards that were adopted in the current year, as Frank mentioned, that did not impact the financial statements. These policies are considered to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principle and are consistent with the prior year. Bottom page 10, note B provides some information related to cash and cash equivalents of the organization. Note C does provide information related to the land you held for development, the remaining portion of the MS property that you still hold. Note D describes a designation of net position by the board of about $60,000 for a Wayfinder project that has not been expended yet. And note E just provides some information related project transactions with some of the related parties. The City of Troy, you do pay annually For administrative services, the CRC is, you share the same board with, and with the Troy Local Development Corporation, you do have a revenue sharing agreement with them related to project administration, project fees, where both parties are involved.
I got a question on the uninsured deposits. Do you check the financial institution that they're being held with?
I'm sorry, what's that question?
The uninsured financial deposits, cash and cash equivalents, no fees.
Oh, yeah, we, as a public authority, you're required to not only, your bank accounts are required to be not only covered by FDIC insurance, but anything that's not insured is required to be covered by a collateral agreement with the bank.
So you check,
Yes, so that
Okay,
amount is,
all right.
you've got $517,000 that was uninsured by FDIC, but was, covered by collateral held by the bank in your name. Pages 12 and page 13. This is our government audit standards report. This report describes our consideration of your internal control over financial reporting and our consideration of your compliance with laws and regulations that have a direct and material impact on the financial statements. Related to internal control, we do consider your internal control of the organization to the extent that allows us to plan and perform an audit. We do not perform enough procedures to allow us to express an opinion on the effectiveness of internal control. However, if we become aware during those procedures of items of deficiencies in internal control that would be considered a material weakness or a significant deficiency, we would report those here to you. We're happy to report we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that are reportable under the government auditing standards. On the top of page 13, we also consider the compliance of the authorities with laws and regulations that can have a direct and material impact on the financial statements, as well as other matters, and report any noncompliance here that we become aware of. We're happy to report we did not identify any instances of noncompliance within the authority that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. And the last page of the report, this is the schedule of supplemental information related to street leases. This information is required by New York State of IDAs to provide related to projects they have. As again, we do perform audit procedures on the schedule, and we do believe it's fairly stated in relationship to the financial statements taken as a whole. That is the authority's financial statements. Are there any questions?
Just a comment on the interest accrual. Absolutely, it's the current environment, but with good rates, but we wouldn't have had that if the two board members here that were present really that scrutinized it. I think Albert and Josh said that we wouldn't have had that.
That's a big
If
difference.
they hadn't questioned that at the time, we were making nothing and we switched accounts. So, good on that. That's the only comment I have. Any other questions from any board members? Otherwise, do we have a second? We need a motion to approve the calendar year 2023 audit as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Stephanie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. And we have a number of absences that I'm sure you can keep up with, Danae. Okay. Great. That concludes the audit and finance. Sorry, that concludes the report from the audit and finance committee. We're going into adjournment. Do we have a motion? And the second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And meeting adjourned. Now we're going to go right into papers, right? Okay. I'm going to call to order the Troy Capital Resource Corporation Audit and Finance Committee meeting. It is March 27, 2024. It's 10:27 a.m. We are going to have to start with the parking of the minutes for the March 24, 2023 committee meeting. Until we have some more members present, we'll jump right into the 2023 audit presentation from Wojcicki, starting with the packet again. And if everyone is comfortable with it, a lot of this is repeated. Would you like to?
I was just gonna say there's two things that are different that I would touch on. I'm not gonna bore everybody by repeating my exact same spiel again. This, some of you would be the third time that you've heard it.
Just, yeah, please, anything that you would like to point out?
Sure.
Take note, let's take note.
So the only difference in this report compared to what I just presented was in the estimates line. So the estimate here would be the collectability of the working capital loan, and that relies on the sale of the, right, LDC's land held for development at the King's Fuel site. And then, under corrected and uncorrected misstatements, it says there is no uncorrected misstatements. However, when we sent the draft over, there was a change made late, so that technically there is an adjustment to accrue legal fees that we got subsequent to, sending over the draft. So that will change, when you see the final, issuance of this report, but everything else is pretty much the same as what I just presented.
And there's an action, as with all these others, about the report that you need with the updated date, right?
Yeah, same thing. Yep.
Okay.
Chris?
Okay. Okay, so we'll go through the financial statement, our independent auditors report, similar to the IDA. The report starts at the top with our opinions. Essentially, in our opinion, the company financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the corporation on December 31st, 2023 and 2022, and the changes in its financial position, cash flows for the years then ended in accordance with the accounting principles and exception as for America. This also is an unmodified or clean opinion, the highest level of assurance you can get. The basis of our opinions, similar to before, we did audit this in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. Management is responsible for these financial statements as well as involvement of system and internal control that allows the preparation of these financial statements that are free from material misstatement. Top of page 2, as auditors, our job is to plan and perform the audit that allows us to express reasonable assurance on the financial statements. Reasonable assurance is not absolute assurance, so there's always the risk that material misstatement can be included but not be detected as part of the audit. Required supplementary information, again, management has omitted the MD&A. It's required by GASB. Again, we would now issue an audit opinion on it, even if it was there, so the absence does not impact our opinion on the financial statements. Supplementary information, similar to the IDA, the CRC does have a schedule that's required to be attached by New York State. This is related to the schedule of indebtedness related to the conduit debt that the CRC does have. Other information, again, we will review the Paris report, the annual report by the organization, to make sure there's no material inconsistencies between that and the financial statements. And again, we are issuing a report on the government auditing standards as well. Page 4, statement in that position, this does provide information related to the net assets and liabilities and equity of the corporation. Year over year, did see a slight decrease in cash. The amount due from the LDC related to the working capital loan that was provided a couple years ago still remains on the books. We did have some increase in payables here. Accounts payable and accrued expenses, and that's mainly just due to timing between when the expenses were incurred and when they were paid. Page 5, statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. And this is the income statement of the organization. It does show you total income in the current year, project fees of about $4,500. Those are really administration fees from the RPI bonds. We did have operating expenses of about $61,000, which led to a net operating loss of $57,000 for the current year. Again, you did see an increase in interest in the current year. So you generated about $3,300 in interest income in the current year, which led to a change in that position of negative $54,000 for 2023. Page 6, your statement of cash flow, again, provides information related to your source and use of cash. You see proceeds of about $4,500 from project fees, as well as about $45,000 in outflows related to payments to vendors, which led to net cash used in operating activities of about $41,000. Interest income of about $32,000, so a net decrease in cash year over year of about $38,000. Pages 7 through 9, again, this is no aid to the financial statements. These are consistent with the prior year, and are considered to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. On the bottom of page 8 and page 9, we do discuss the new GASB standards that were adopted in the current year. However, they did not have impact on the current year financial statements. Note D does provide information in relation to your cash equivalents. For the CRC, all the cash was fully insured by FDIC, so there was no required collateral. And then page 10, note C, related parties, does provide information related to some transactions with related parties. The City of Troy does provide staff support to the corporation without compensation. You do share board with the IDA, and you do have that working capital loan of $250,000 that is owed to you from the local development corporation. Pages 11 and 12, again, this is our Yellow Book report, our government audit standards report, our report on internal controls. Again, we would disclose here any instances of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control we identify as part of our audit. We're happy to report that we did not identify any internal control related matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. And the top of page 12, we also did not identify any instances of non-compliance or other matters that could have a direct and material impact on the financial statements that are reportable under government auditing standards. And the last page, on page 13, this is a supplementary schedule required by New York State. It does provide information related to the debt of the organization. Now, this debt is what's called conduit debt. It's not actual debt of the organization. It's debt that passes through the organization through the different projects you have, and these are related to the RPI bonds, and you can see the activity in the current year. Essentially, the only activities amounts were repaid by the RPI during the year, bringing the total bonds down to just under $316 million at the end of 2023. Are there any questions on the CRC financial statements?
Any questions from the board? If not, then, do we have a motion to approve the calendar year 2023 audit as presented by
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Stephanie? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? And a number of absences.
Thanks for sticking around for that.
Great.
I just on our way off.
Yeah. We have to be, still have enough people for an adjournment vote.
You're here forever.
We'll leave it open and close it when,
Yeah.
well, then we have to open up the other meeting.
I think she said, yeah.
Yeah. We have 5, so I think we're okay.
That's outside the door.
Yeah. Is 5 enough?
How many people were there?
There's 2, 3, 4, and she is the 5th.
Oh, right, yeah. So.
There she is, we're good.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to adjourn the Troy Capital Resource Corporation Audit and Finance Committee meeting?
Motion.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Stephanie, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, gents.
All right,
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the help.
Yeah. The rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
See you next year.
Now we're good. So,
Now we're gonna
my
use
things, yeah. Okay. Yeah, now got 2 meetings to cram in. Let's see what we can do, guys. 23 minutes now. That's all. So, we're gonna start with, we'll get the time we need. We're gonna start with, I'm gonna call to order the Troy, New York Industrial Development Authority, Board of Directors meeting. It is March 27th, 2024. It is 10:37 a.m. We have a few board members absent, including, Sue Farrell, Representative Sue Steele, Alex Carlton, and Josh Cohn. We have some new members on the board as well. Council Representative Ryan Rosen and Coburn, and we are going to start with some further introductions that I think will include what do you think? Do we want to wait and do the introductions and board positions into the new business?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's, we're gonna do that. That worked a little better last meeting, so we're gonna go straight into, again, parking the minutes for the December 15, 2023 board meeting, for approval at the next meeting when we have more members present. So now we're going into the, acting executive director's report.
I'm back for today. It's good to see everybody and new faces as well. Just real quick, it's fitting that we get to end on a day where we're filing the Paris report. I just want to say thank you first to Danae, because she does so much work on this. And I didn't get a chance to thank her on the last one, so thank you, Danae, for all your help with this. It really is a lot of work. I guess, do you want to go over the Paris report now, or do you want to wait until we actually have the resolution in hand? Because I was thinking maybe we want to have the resolution to,
I think it's fine to wait till the new business. Let's start with
okay.
let's start with kind of, before we do election of officers and review of procedures, this is where we're gonna put into this annual meeting resolution are kind of our introductions, positions, open seats, et cetera. Which I will let Justin kind of take the helm on that one.
Sure. Every year by March 31st, the board is required to submit its annual report to the Authority Budget Office through the PARIS system, a lot of acronyms. As a component of that, the IDA and the CRC are also required on an annual basis to readopt certain policies, review its annual audit management letter, accept the PARIS report before filing, and generally take care of what we call housekeeping items each year. As part of that, the board, on an annual basis, revisits its slate of officers on the board. This board is unique in that the chair position is appointed by the appointing authority, which is the city council and the mayor. So Jeff serves as the chair. The remainder of the positions on the board slate of officers are up to the board. So each year, the position of vice chair, treasurer, and secretary are reviewed and elected by the board. In addition, there is a newly appointed acting planning commissioner for the city of Troy. Welcome, Randy Coburn. Historically, the IDA has, and under your bylaws, reflects that the planning commissioner serves as your executive director. Dylan has done a yeoman's job of carrying the position on an interim and acting basis, and Steve Streichman retired late last year. So as part of the review today and the annual meeting resolution, which starts kind of after, in your packets, after the minutes from the last meeting, there's a resolution here that does all this stuff. It's an omnibus resolution that visits the items I just discussed, along with board positions, staff positions, and other housekeeping items that include FOIL officers and filing your annual report and things like that. So it's all kind of a one-stop shop, one board vote items. So within the items that are worthy of discussion, if you will, are reviewing and endorsing the audit and management letter that was just presented to you by the Wojcicki. The board offices, the committee positions, and then the staff positions. For discussion before the vote is put up, if there's any suggestions, and maybe Danae could remind me, because I don't remember, who the existing vice chair, treasurer, and secretary are for the IDA?
Jim Gully.
Was the vice chair.
Okay.
Yeah. And Albert was the treasurer.
Okay. And then there's a board secretary, which is kind of ceremonial.
I think it was Danae.
Well, she's the acting secretary at the staff level.
Oh, right.
The board has a slate position of a secretary that's, you know.
No.
I think it was Sue Farrell.
I think it was, yeah.
Who was in here?
So for, we could do the funny, cross nominations, and whoever touches their nose last loses, or, whoever, if Albert wants to continue as the treasurer, that makes sense because of his interest and help with, financial affairs, that would make sense. If there's anyone interested in vice chair or secretary and want to self-nominate, or find the person next to you and they don't, respond quickly enough, they get voted. So I'll let it go with you folks if you want to have that discussion, and then we can discuss the committees after that as well.
And we do have a lot of absences. I am not sure if Alex has any interest in any of those. I know that, Josh is not on our list, but he's also, his term's up in October, and he serves until he's replaced, so like, we are gonna get someone new in that position, so I wouldn't assume he would be in one of those. And I'm not sure, so the only person that can't really speak for in their opinions on this are both the Sues. So, if we start with the vice chair position, if Albert is, and if you're okay with being treasurer remaining, then are any of the remaining board members interested in the vice chair position?
All the work.
It's what?
Occasionally, we chase that person for signatures if I can't find the executive director or the chair. One time, I got Jim Gully to sign a document.
And worst case scenario, if I can't make a meeting, you would be, leading the meeting.
Service chair, right?
I could do, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Keep
perfect.
the tradition of a council member. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So we have, Ryan putting me forward for vice chair. And over to you, you are happy with treasurer? And, I'm not necessarily comfortable speaking for Sue without her being here, so is there any, would it
I'll do it.
Stephanie as secretary? I appreciate that. Okay, that moves us into, audit and finance committee. Well, that's the committee as a whole. Governance committee, that doesn't, there's not an open position for that, but.
You can shuffle the deck or maintain Albert, Sue, and Stephanie. It just depends on what you guys want to do.
I just know that I'm pretty sure that, Sue's term is up this year. So, if you're interested, Natasha, in being on that, I don't wanna, we can keep it the same too.
Can you, fill out those positions, those individual positions through email and like, find out who's interested in it, I guess, beforehand?
Yeah, we could table and maintain those
Yeah.
people in the position and revisit it next month if
Yeah,
people think that's appropriate.
Yeah,
We did
we're just
similar
missing a
with the
lot.
LDC, yeah.
Yeah, we're missing
Yeah.
a lot of people.
so we'll table section
The next one is.
excuse me, yeah, section 7.
Appointment of staff. Historically, Danae, God bless her, is our acting secretary, does a lot of hard work. And Dylan has been kind of doing double duty as the Director of Economic Development position within the IDA, and has been an acting executive director for about 6 months. Andrew Kreshik is also here in the planning office and serves as a project manager, really the technical project manager guy. The position of executive director, as I mentioned earlier, is historically been filled by the planning commissioner, and we have a new person in that seat, Randy Colbert. So this section, if the board's comfortable to make the decision to place Randy into that position as part of this omnibus resolution as well.
And Randy, you're good with that? Or-
Yeah, no, everyone else is volunteering here, so I might as well too.
Great. Okay,
Welcome
so
aboard.
on section 7, we have Randy in the executive director position, and the other 3 automatically filled out. Great. Section 8 and 9, is there any, and 10 and 11, I don't know if there are any points that need to be brought up immediately.
No,
other than-
Randy's now the FOIL officer as well. We talked about the annual report, which is the Paris report printed here.
Oh, right, yeah, obviously.
That's sometimes a little bit of a pause. I don't know if Danae just wants to illustrate or point out if there's any outliers or significant underperformers within that report inside your suite of clients and pilots. Sometimes you would visit, anything that's a data aberration, but if things look generally stable, we can visit that and move on and approve that for filing with the state before March 31st.
Randy and I talked about the numbers. Do you want to mention anything that came up on the?
Yeah, I mean, we did look closely at the numbers. We're talking about the job numbers here, right? Right. I mean, I didn't prepare a formal report, but I can just give you my general impressions based on what we looked at. So we looked at, I think there was like somewhere around 40 projects where there were actually job goals. And when you look at it in the aggregate, all 40 projects, all 40 projects reached about 87% of their goals. But, within that, you've got some that are over and some that are under, some that are way under. And, so I just tried to look at it. It's like, well, how many reached 100% of the goals? How many reached 75% of the goals? 50, 25. And so we have that breakdown. I don't have it with me, but, generally speaking, I would say there was only, I think, about 13 of the 38 that reached 100% of their goals. And then the numbers obviously get a little bit better as you lower the threshold of kind of performance. So I don't know what to conclude from that. I would say that...
Yeah, as one point for all the present board members, it's helpful. I know the Paris report that has this information, but the last page of the IDA report is a very helpful summary table for review. So, sorry to interrupt on that. That's what I've been following along with.
But, so, yeah, we looked at those numbers and then kind of broke them down, did the analysis the way I just described it.
Right.
And frankly, this is a vote for the report itself, not necessarily for any...
Can I just help provide me a little bit far on that? Just
Thank
because
you.
there are projects in there that have not commenced, such as like American Theater, some of those other ones. I'm not looking at the sheet. But
If they haven't closed, we're not reporting.
Right,
They
exactly.
shouldn't be on the list.
So there are a number that are sort of in the queue to close
Right.
that we've passed resolutions on, but they haven't happened yet, or they haven't been reported yet because they weren't in 2023. So I think there's at least, I would say, half a dozen in there that are probably close, but not yet actually being actively.
Are they in those numbers?
On this page, they are not.
Just
That's only the active.
Yeah.
Well, no, so like, for
I believe
instance, you have, original jobs estimate, right? 40 is, Columbia Proctor's Realty.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And then you've got,
Well, that's the Proctor's over.
it's Columbia Development, right? So they're just not reporting it because they've got offices in there.
They report their tenants, that's what their obligation is.
Well, there's,
So
their
there should be numbers
obligation is that they report their tenants, they're just not reporting it.
there. So they just never got back to you?
I don't know, but
Which one is this?
this is for Columbia.
Columbia Chase and Realty, or is it,
No, it's Columbia, Proctor's.
Well, one's on the corner and one's further in, closer to Proctor.
This is the one
Columbia
right on the face of Proctor's, yeah, it's an
So
office.
they have 0 on it?
They have 0 in here, however, they might have separated it out by different ways, so, for instance, there's another Columbia that's here that I think is the same property. Like, there's others like that, what City Station West, for instance, we know for a fact that there's tenants in there. They just haven't reported.
What about,
So we need to send a Dunning letter, if we, right now, we're sending that in, we have, what's today, the 27th?
27th.
Hendrick Hudson has 80 here, and then you get the 0?
So the Hendrick Hudson is also, majority of it at this point is commercial, so there's more than 80 people working in that building.
Yeah, that's the only one that they couldn't get a response from, they went to the building.
Do you have a list of non-respondents? That's where
Yeah.
we should start, and we don't want our skewed data to go into the system just because of non-respondents. Generally, by February, we're sending kind of letters that are, or should be sending letters that are a little terse. Because we don't want to load in a bad report and then trigger an ABO audit because we have a suite of projects that look like they're failing.
I mean, that just stands out, I mean.
And conversely, some of these didn't have any, and now they're at 8, for instance. So like, what is that? That's the Hendrick Hudson. No.
Where's Columbia?
Would it,
I don't even find that
It's
list.
probably below their threshold, definitely.
is there,
Yeah.
with the risk of running this meeting long, and of, is there any interest in going line by line on this. We're jumping all over the place.
Yeah, it could eat up the day, but, to the extent.
I just want to know what,
yeah.
how to
To the
push
extent that we
forward.
can improve this data before Friday, let's try to do that.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to going through this line by line,
Yeah.
can we kind of do an analysis and share it with everyone, and then get approval of the Paris report outside of this meeting
Well, it has to be submitted.
before it has to be submitted? Yeah.
What day?
Well, you can instruct staff to improve it as best as possible before it gets filed. You know, at that point, based on the data you're able to achieve, literally, you can send a notice saying, if you don't provide this piece of paper to us, we're taking your pilot away. That'll wake people up.
Does it have to be filed?
So at this
31st.
point, do you have
End of the
people
month.
that,
Oh, really? Oh.
do you have people that you provided that notice to, Danae, that have not responded?
I called them all, and I told them all, and I put in an email that your pilot in default did not respond. Hendrick Hudson was the only one that they didn't get any job numbers from them. It's a management company that's doing it on behalf of Venatio. They went over
We
there.
kind of, yeah. However they do it is their deal, but we need the numbers, yeah.
Yeah, I relayed that information to them.
I mean, it's never ideal when you have to be the stick instead of the carrot, but, at some point you do need to fire in your report.
You know, I call people as well.
DeFazio's, I mean,
He hasn't gotten started yet.
Yeah.
that's still not open yet?
No, he's still working on that, yeah.
Sad that elicits a laugh, but yes.
Is the cookie factory
It's a
still
cold
in
to
business?
get a pizza on a Friday night, I mean.
Is the cookie factory still in business?
What's that?
Is the cookie factory still in business?
Oh,
That's
boy.
one, when I mentioned are there any outliers, I thought that would be the one.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of those.
We're working on actually wrapping up their transaction early. It's supposed to end at the end of this year, but they're in a process of, working out of a foreclosure with Sunmark Federal Credit Union. So, expect to have our late pilot paid by the bank, and then we're gonna just terminate the
Oh, yeah.
transaction, so get it off our books.
Got the glaring one, it's Hendrick Hudson.
And to the extent that we could do any last minute Hail Marys and get the current FTE column populated, that'll help the report, I think. I think it's the best we can do to get it populated before.
Venatio's coming back in at some point. So
We
soon.
can sit on our hands if they're gonna.
I think that's a way to reach out to them and say, hey, look.
Okay. And they have 3 projects with us, 4. Douchy, there's 2 Douchy River Triangle projects, there's 33 Second.
Yeah, right. 33 Second, there's the Triangle, there's the Douchy, and there's Hendrick Hudson.
Okay.
It was very difficult to get their information from their management company.
Yes.
And all he could produce were numbers for 3. He said they would go there and let them know that they needed the numbers.
Funny, who's the guy that works there, Larry?
It's, Larry,
Oh,
no,
Larry.
that's not the, so yes, they have their own management
Well, it's
company.
Larry's problem. Larry will fix it, I think, if they want their pilot, yeah, so.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
But yeah, I would suggest trying to punch that up, just so we're not sending in, kind of leading with our chin with the state, that's all. Not that they have 106 IDAs to deal with, but we don't want to be
But one,
perceived as one that seems to be underperforming, that's all.
Will that trigger an audit?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but it, every year, and Randy's familiar with this, and Dylan being part of the State Economic Development Council, the ABO and the Controller's Office undertake an annual report of all IDAs. And largely they take, I call it garbage in, garbage out, because it's a process where all local IDAs have this same struggle. They get data that is skewed,
Right.
put into a system, and it's the data that you get, and that's the garbage in. The garbage out is the state ABO's report and the controller's report, which is highly critical, highly skeptical. IDAs are failing, they're giving away millions of dollars of benefits and not generating the jobs that they are supposed to and are promised by the companies. There are examples of projects that aren't performing, but largely, I would say, if we have, 12 bits of bad data here, there might be 10 that are okay. We just don't have the data to put into the system. So
Right.
if we, as one organization out of 106, could put in better data, those annual reports at the state level that say IDAs are evil will become better, right? Because it's just so, part of the generation of data is like pulling teeth, and Danae's on the front line of that. But as we lead into February, this is just annual hygiene type stuff. As we lead into February and we know we have 30 days to get to the end of March, that's when we send out kind of more terse sounding things. And at some point, if we get into a habit of year over year sending in bad data, we kind of get into that class of IDAs that might be audited because of that data. So, that being said, if we can, pardon me, my phone's ringing.
We can send out dunning letters.
We
We don't
can,
have time now, though.
Well, I think at this point, we can, send out direct communications calls, call Larry.
Yep.
Say, listen, we're sending in a report to the state that says that you're failing, and we need to think about possible recapture, which is the worst thing you could say.
Right.
Because you want them to succeed, but at some point, we need to draw the line and try to get the data. That's the best we can do at this point, so. There's been years where they look just like this, and this is probably the most time we spent on an annual report, which is good, right? To the extent that we can triage it a little bit before Monday, let's do it.
I think Sunday is.
It's Wednesday, so we have lots of time.
Yeah.
So that's the parish report. Sorry to detour that, but the board's aware of that. Between Cookie and maybe a couple others, there might be an actual issue to be concerned about, and it's explainable because that building's empty because of other issues. So I don't think there's any reason for the board, under normal circumstances, if we had all the data in front of us, that you would take action one way or the other than just to visit it and say things look generally good. With a couple of things, we're coming out of COVID, commercial lending markets are weird, people are still struggling a little bit, there's always an explanation. The only things here that you would look at and say, well, we want to lean into it and maybe be hawkish, I think, is Cookie and maybe one or two others. I don't think there are any. I think it's just a function of data not being put into the system. Beyond that, I think we just have the omnibus resolution queued up right now with the, I don't think we tabled anything this time, did we?
No, we tabled the appointments for the committees.
The committees, that's right, okay. Yeah, for the governance. Yep. Okay, with that, I give it back to the chair and stop yammering here.
Well, with that information, are there any further questions from the board regarding the report? And is everyone understanding that we are looking at leaving out section 6 specifically of the governance committee for this resolution? And if there are any questions, now. If not, we're looking at a motion to approve accepting the authority audit for fiscal year 2023. We had a finance committee meeting adopting and readopting certain report standards and procedures relating to the Public Authorities Accountability Act 2005 as amended by Chapter 506 of the laws of 2009 of the state of New York, electing board officers, appointing board committee positions, well, except for the governance committee, and reappointing the authority staff, and the related materials attached. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstained? No, but we have a number of absences. Okay, the motion.
Welcome, Randy.
Yeah.
Oh, deep breath, everyone. Now, right on time at 11:02, we're going to go into the meat of the meeting, the initial project resolution for the Gurley Ave apartment.
Told you about those job numbers, right?
Yeah.
We're pretty careful about those. Yeah, they were off. Wherever you want.
If you'd like to go to the front, just
If you have
introduce
something you want to
yourself.
present, yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, haven't really done this before, so. Yeah, show the table.
Are you presenting slides or anything? Just,
No.
okay, just wanted to, you guys throw your bag, just leave here.
can you start with the site of the project, what you guys are doing?
Yeah, okay.
The history?
Yep, so we're doing 90 units on the corner of Gurley and Cemetery. It's a makeup of 1 and 2 bedroom units. 18 of the units are garden level apartments that we're marketing towards the local colleges. So there's 6 per building. The rest of the units are market rate, you know, not an affordable element, but they are affordable for market rate apartments in the area. We're kind of not going crazy with them. We're making it so it's good quality, you know, workforce housing type of deal. Yeah, we started the project, you know, with site work and stuff almost a year ago, but with actual vertical construction, we're about 4 months into the project. We're doing so with a loan, with a construction loan. And, yeah, well, this thing's not quite penciling out with current economics of it and, you know, with the economics of lending in general at the moment. So trying to get a little bit of help on that end so we can see this thing to the finish line.
Just to maybe help, you guys, where do you see most of your tenants coming from? What do you see sort of being like the benefit for the community?
Well, I think there's, with jobs the way they are and things going in a good direction there's definitely a need for, well, we have 1s and 2s. We have some work from home units, which are not what they say they are. They're work from home units, but it's really, you know, people bring their work home from them. It has a little office set up for 1 bedrooms. So it's the 24 to 32, you know, breaking into the workforce type of deal, and, you know, college grads, good jobs, you know, working at the colleges and some of the other good business around here, you know, Regeneron, stuff like that. That's kind of our demo, you know, aside from the college, you know, housing on the first floor. I do work with the people at RPI a decent amount. I have a 50 unit in Brunswick that's just outside of Troy on Hoosick Street, and we have a lot of RPI kids there, and we have a good relationship with that college, and, you know, they're good tenants, and they generally, once they, you know, get out of some type of student housing, they want their own place, and that's kind of what we're offering. The 2 bedrooms are that we're offering to them are kind of like a double suite, so we're renting them, you know, 1 lease, not per student, but they're 2 bedroom, 2 bath, kind of split in half, share kitchen, share living room type of deal. So I think those are gonna be, you know, important for the college kids. I think that's a good spot for them. It's not too far from college, but it's also not necessarily right in the middle of Troy, so, you know, we have parking, we have, you know, all the good things that you want when you're, you know.
Just one thing that would be helpful is, Zach, you're with Blue Iron
Correct.
Construction.
Yep.
You guys are owned, so can you just talk about the company structure?
Yeah.
We really have property.
So it's me and my partner, David Kwiat. He's an eye surgeon. I'm kind of the hands-on, you know, I take care of everything, I guess. So he's not a passive investor, you know, he's involved in the company, but, you know, he lives in Florida, so.
Got an eye for investing, sorry.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And we do have a decent amount of other properties. My sister's the CEO of the company. Jim Kerr, who's a civil engineer, he runs the construction division. And, you know, we have a decent amount of other employees, you know, leasing agents, marketing, maintenance staff. We manage all of our properties in-house. We hire permanent employees for those positions. We don't farm any of that stuff out.
Just for clarity for the board, Jim Kerr is the applicant for this. You're a part owner in Blue Iron, and then the principal owners, I see Dave.
It's me and Dave are the principal owners.
Oh, so William's
50/50. William's my name, yeah.
Oh,
William
okay.
Zachary. I'm sorry.
Got it, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I
guys.
don't know why I missed that, so.
Yeah, I apologize, yeah.
That's obvious.
Yeah, you can call me Zach. No, don't call me Bill. Bill's my dad. I'm Zach.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so I am 50% owner of the company. And this, along with a lot of other projects that we're looking to invest in Troy, we absolutely above the market down here. We think it's a good opportunity district, for what we do. We put a lot of thought into our projects. We design them from inception, you know, these are plans that we drew ourselves with tenants in mind. You know, so we're pretty much a very hands-on company. We do everything from the masonry to the framing in-house. I mean, we have a pretty large construction company that really just only services our stuff. A couple of the projects we have going on is I have 260 units up in Saratoga Lake that are, I'd say they're the nice apartments in upstate New York, you know, real high-end stuff. And then we have everything down to a 75-unit building off 9th Street that we've completely revamped since we took over ownership a couple of years ago. It was kind of like a problem for the city of Troy, and we've turned it into a nice asset. We've completely changed the demographic of it. We have a lot of the same type of tenant that we're gonna put here, there, you know, it's, we put a lot of effort into making our properties desirable.
Is it off 9th Street? Where is that other one?
It's all the way at the end of 9th Street, so it's the Overlook Apartments. It's a 75-unit building, it's dead end off 9th. It's, you know, it was like, when I took over the building, it was, you know, 25 vacant units, you know, average rent of $650, and those tenants were not even paying their rent. You know, we've raised it up comfortably to just the lower end of the market. You know, we're $1,100 a unit there, so it's still affordable, but we've attracted a demographic that's not a burden. You know, we've really made it an affordable asset with people that actually, you know, take some pride in, you know, where they live.
What do you project in the rents at this location, the current cemetery?
Between $1,400 and $1,600, depending on the unit.
So $1,400 for the one bedroom?
Yeah, the one bedroom, it's got an office too, so it's like a, you know, one bedroom with a den. And then for the two bedrooms, we're still floating around with it, but it's, the two bedrooms are, one master bedroom and then a smaller bedroom, so they're not huge two bedrooms. The two bedrooms for the college students are, you know, nicely sized, and those are two bedroom, two baths. Those are gonna be a little bit more. We haven't put a price point on those yet, but, you know, they're a little north of 16.
Just, I'm not trying to single you out, Ryan. I think, Randy's gotten a big kind of preview of what these meetings are for, just so we're refreshing everyone. This initial project resolution is, I don't know who said this, but there's this term that gets thrown around, the first bite of the apple.
Yeah.
We're just,
Kevin O'Brien.
yeah, apparently he's famous for that saying. We're reviewing the application, and then if we pass this, then, it doesn't necessarily trigger for next meeting, but there will be a follow-up meeting that will have a, public hearing, and then we will go into the vote for the project. So this is a good opportunity where, as we review the application, if you have any questions, or clarity, not just for yourself, but also as we, are working with Zach, for him to be prepared to come back for that public hearing and for the meeting.
And, you know, just so you guys understand, Jim would probably be doing this, but he had a conflicting meeting, so I kinda got stuck in about an hour ahead of time, so.
And you guys will come with probably some presentation.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Jim was on vacation all last week, and it was his first day back, so.
And sorry to interrupt, that was a little bit into Sasha's questioning, but I just wanted to make that clear in case you have any questions or anything.
And this is not a commitment and for Ryan's benefit and Randy's familiar, the IDA is being asked to provide three kinds of tax benefits. A sales tax exemption for the construction process, which is 8% of every 2x4 and, you know, all that stuff.
And that's a little bit convoluted too, because we are into the project a little bit, so it's a percentage, it's what's left. Well, yeah, what's left, so I kinda tried to do that, and it could be a little heavy, you know, my ask might be a little heavy over what we actually are able to do, because we have purchased a lot of stuff.
Contingency there.
Yeah.
And there's a mortgage recording tax exemption when they have construction or permanent financings. There's a 1% tax that the IDA can avoid when a mortgage is recorded. And then the pilot benefit, which is the one that we look at most closely, which is a partial abatement of real estate taxes for the project over a period of years. We haven't designed or landed on how long a pilot or what it'll look like yet, but that's what the purpose of the public hearing is. So what happens between this meeting And the next meeting or the meeting after that where we set a public hearing is typically Dylan, and now Randy will be engaging with the applicant, and we have the help of a committee now with Albert, where we really look at their finances and look at their debt and their equity and look at what a fair pilot will look like. And then we have to, at the public hearing, and the purpose of it is to present a finite amount of sales tax, mortgage tax, and what the pilot is. And if the board's comfortable with that, after the hearing, you would adopt a formal approval. So we're onboarding at this point, and we'll bring more back when we're ready.
Yeah, and just a little bit of a helpful narrative here. So this project I purchased pre-COVID, and it was contingent upon some approvals that I wasn't in charge of getting, the seller was. COVID really messed that up. My timing could have been a lot better, as far as lending rates, which would have helped this project be a lot easier to do. We were kind of already stuck in a situation where we now owned it, and we needed to, build the thing, and we weren't really able to capture the timing that would have been captured if it wasn't for the COVID hardship. I mean, there was pretty much 2 years lost on this thing that really kind of messed us up financially. That narrative is a real, I'm sure you guys have heard it before.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you have a construction loan?
We do have a construction loan.
Did they offer you permanent financing also, or?
They're not offering me permanent financing, no.
Okay.
So I structured the permanent financing based off of a HUD takeout, which would probably be the direction that we go, given we have enough time and value, and, if this thing's able to pencil out. Part of the problem we're having is the taxes are so high in this area that it's really decreasing the NOI, which is our formula we use to figure out the debt service coverage ratio. It decreased it enough to where it doesn't really pencil out quite well. It's well below. Yeah, based on now, it's well below.
So the current assessed value, I believe, is about $500,000 or something along that line. And then we had an appraisal done through the assessor's office, and it came back, I think, at $14 million.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a considerable increase in value there. And the only other thing I want to point out is that aside from this project just being another one, there's been a lot of activity in Lansingburg lately, and I think it's a really good sign of things, the way they're kind of turning in that neighborhood. We've done this, we've done the Line Factory, we've done Catholic High, thank you. There are 2 more projects potentially in the hopper as well.
The convenience station up there right by the bridge.
The convenience station. I mean, you're talking about doing stuff in Lansingburg, so we've got a lot of really good stuff happening there, and I think this is indicative with the Main Street grant of things that we can actually be doing in that neighborhood.
Correct, and we're, as a company, looking at other stuff in Lansingburg as well, large scale, mixed use and residential projects. That we love the demographic of the area. It's working class. It's very viable area, for opportunity. Taxes really are pretty rough, as I'm sure you guys hear.
Westchester, dude.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Everything's relative, yeah.
So, yeah, I know.
What's rent in Westchester, though?
What's that?
What's rent in Westchester, though?
I don't know, I wasn't at the age of saying.
For the sake of this initial project resolution, I myself don't have any more questions. I just want to give around if the board members have any other questions for the specific to the application.
I just got one. Can you there's a breakout of operating expenses here?
Yeah.
But it's just generalized? Are you gonna do like a breakout?
I absolutely can.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, absolutely can.
Yeah, we're in communication now, but we'll share all that information.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
No, don't worry, we got you.
Yeah.
Albert, Alex, and.
Can't believe you can read that.
We have to meet.
Actually, I printed it out.
Right.
I just printed it out before I came.
Yeah, I just had just a quick question on the page where you've got the jobs listed.
Mm-hmm.
So are these would be permanent jobs?
Yeah, full-time jobs. Yeah, that's how we operate all of our apartment complexes. We hire full-time employees.
The property manager also?
Yeah, I'm the property manager as well, yeah.
Any further questions from the board before we,
If you guys could think of anything so I could put it on my presentation, that'd be really helpful. So anything you guys think that I might need to clarify better?
Well, the actual progress of the project,
Yeah.
because you indicate, may not be able to move forward without assistance, but, you're, you know, pretty close to framing on building 2, so that's just one more building left. So it kind of want to have an idea of where you're actually at.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not
And
sure, as, you know, when this was actually completed.
as we move forward, our game plan is to watertight the buildings, and kind of let the dust settle a little bit and see where we're at, you know.
Are you doing, AIA forms for your payment requisitions with the bank?
We are, yeah.
Do you have, like, the materials stored and all that kind of, those numbers?
Yes, we do.
Perfect.
Yep.
If you don't mind sharing that information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we do.
Any further questions?
Good point, that's a good step.
Mm-hmm.
If not,
Will you give us a copy of the appraisal?
I got it
Oh,
for
you
you
got
guys.
it already?
Yeah.
No, you got.
Oh, okay, all right.
We have a city-generated one, but we don't have one that you provided,
Yeah, do you have it?
For the lending?
Your
Yeah,
construction
for the
loan.
lending.
Yeah, oh, I can get that for you. Yeah, of
Okay,
course,
yeah,
yep,
yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
so we're putting up an initial project resolution for the Gurley Avenue property. Do we have a motion to accept this initial project resolution?
Make the motion.
Stephanie, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Over, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We just have a number of absences. Okay, the, resolution passes. We'll see you soon.
All right, cool. How long do you think I have to get this presentation ready?
Tomorrow.
Perfect.
Generally,
I'm used to that.
but we should be talking before then, because we're gonna have to discuss.
Yeah, I'm gonna need your help.
We'll get with you to basically start talking about the
When
numbers.
is your,
Our next
your
meeting is
construction
technically
loan
in 3
expire?
weeks.
It's an 18-month loan,
So,
in,
the third.
July.
Okay, all right,
We closed in July.
okay. So you have enough time to,
We have enough time,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
Oh,
Well,
man.
we might have to do a bridge if we're gonna go HUD, if we're ready, I have enough time.
Okay.
No.
If I go HUD, it takes about a year, so I might
Yeah,
have
no,
to,
yeah.
I might have to bridge in order to get to a HUD takeout.
Here for,
But Fannie and Freddie, I'd get done in like 30
No,
to 60 days, depending on the lender, so.
Okay, all right.
Just down near Toulouse.
We good?
You doing
yeah, you
I
were-
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Zach, the airport just opened up.
Yeah, good seeing you, Zach.
In Toulouse.
Oh, did they?
Just opened
Yeah,
this month.
yeah, we're flying in a can, driving down.
That concludes the new business. We're going into, old business. We're gonna start with the project updates and closings, and there's a lot of them, I think.
Just real quick, I mentioned a lot of stuff in the LDC meeting with the Kaiser and South Troy, but the BOA is gonna be done soon. We paid a lot of money towards that, which has been very helpful. We've also helped, with the, Safe Streets for All. I believe that's, was that a resolution we passed in November, correct? Yep, so that was a resolution we passed in November. It's going to be the 50% match that we need in order to provide money to match the region's, DOT grant, which is gonna go towards basically creating a standardized sort of set of instructions on how to make the streets safer for pedestrians and also for cars and also for bikes as well, as we try to create more Main Street, safe streets type of things. So we've spent money on that. We've also spent additional money on, the economic study as part of the BOA. That I just need to sign, and then we'll be able to be fine with that. And, there's a lot happening. We got a lot of projects. We have a lot of them operating in terms of pilots as well, so I think it's gonna be a really good year. And we will be talking very soon about Main Street as well, because they've done a fabulous job with that, and it's an opportune time for us to get more and more development going in the downtown.
Are you, just out of curiosity, is there any expectation for what we might see at the next meeting? Because it's been such a hiatus, I don't know if anyone's kind of rushing to.
Well, so there was a couple things. We had to do some, let's call it, sort of catch-up work in terms of closings at the end of the year. I don't know if you guys, well, those of you that were here last year will remember that we were waiting on about 5 or 6 different closings. I think, Justin, we didn't hit all of them, right, but we hit most of them.
We, just as a quick summary, we closed Catholic High, last month, and also, the project for Kings Landing 2.
Right.
And I think the other little one,
North, City Station North.
City Station North did its financing, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
it's been a
correct,
long
yeah.
time.
Isn't that crazy, man? Wow.
They opened up their financing to get that vertical construction going, which is good news.
Yep.
6th Ave?
Yes, that's right. There was
Dave
a
and,
smaller one, the former.
Rectory.
Yep.
Yes, the rectory has a sales tax.
Right. Yep, that's gonna be good. And then there was another,
The Finney project is not closed. right?
They're, if you've been following the news, they're kind of back and forth right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, the
I
dealership
talked to
always
Tim and
goes,
Michael Finney at an event, and we'll be hearing from them soon.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, they're
It's my
excited.
favorite.
Finney, the American Theater, and I think 155 Riverfront is waiting to get to their bank financing.
They should be soon.
Those are kind of the pregnant ones that we're waiting to deliver.
Yep.
What's going on with Kings Landing, too?
They closed with their financing, Rhinebeck Bank,
Okay.
closed, so we've got that one booked, and that also involved the sale of some LDC land with it, so.
Oh.
And that'll be a fee
Started,
share
but then
project.
they stopped.
Oh, there's been a lot of the
Yeah.
projects lately.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in old business or any questions about upcoming agendas or any open projects, anything like that? Okay.
Yeah, I have a million questions, but I'll talk to him
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
You know where my office is.
Great. Well, then that concludes old business. We're gonna step it over to financials with Matt, and you have a separate packet. Yes, no, not that one, this one.
All right, so our first board statement position, as of February 29th, we had total assets of
I lost track a long time ago.
with, $2,273,864 of that in cash. We had total liabilities of $1,648,491, which leaves us with a fund balance of $970,506. There are no significant changes to the statement of financial position for the month of February. Our last report is the statement of activity. For the month of February, we had a surplus of $148,999. Most significant source of revenue was in our administration fees, and the largest expense was our monthly accounting fees.
I just got, the receivable, is that a late pilot?
So that receivable is,
Banquet, right?
as of February 29th, there were several,
Yeah.
open pilots. The only two that are open as of right now are Cookie Factory and 444.
Is most of that Cookie Factory then?
Most of it's Cookie
Yeah,
Factory.
yeah.
And the 444, is that BSM?
No, that's, right here.
That's right here. They haven't paid?
They also have the, art house.
Casino?
It's the casino. Yeah, so, I sent an email to them, they said that they were processing a check, I can.
Isn't that what they said last time?
That's not good, because
Yeah.
they were expanding very quickly across the country.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot going on, I don't know if it's in the bank somewhere, because they blame the escrow company, but.
How many days,
Escrow companies only do what they're told.
how many days later is Cookie Factory?
That's different.
Well, the Cookie still owes for their school pilot from October, so the late fees are accruing on that. And then their city and county for this year was due February 1st.
They're restructuring their debt. They're gonna have, they've got a lot right now that they're kind of through, but it sounds like they're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
have
not gonna-
foreclosure.
They still gotta pay the taxes.
No, they're gonna,
Oh.
so that's all gonna be included as part of their takeout in order to
Oh,
avoid
okay,
foreclosure.
all right. So they're gonna be on the report for a little while now.
They're gonna be here for a little bit longer until they refinance. And then, and the banquet as well is kind of eating up as well, right? Thank you for sticking in this, dude. I know you were
Yeah.
sitting there in the corner this whole time. I'm sure you're charging us, though.
I don't have any other further questions, but any members of the board, any further questions for Matt before we, vote to accept the financial statement? And if not, then do we have a motion to, approve the financials?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Albert. Do we have a second?
Second.
Natasha, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. And just a number of absences. Great. Now do we have a motion to adjourn? We'll get to that. Let's motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, Natasha. Second?
I'll second.
Albert, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Yeah, we do have to go into the we do have to go into the CRC, everyone, so we can pass this, annual meeting resolution and election of officers. We do have, so I'm just gonna go right into it. Thanks for bearing with us. Does anybody have anywhere absolutely pressing to go to, or, I mean, we have to get this through, so.
Let's go.
Randy and I have a meeting in half an hour.
Okay,
Do we?
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to fly through this, but while abiding by all, proper procedures. So I'm gonna call to order the Capital Resource Corporation Board of Directors meeting. It's March 27, 2024. It is 11:27 a.m. We have absences of Sue Farrell, Alex Carlton, Councilmembers Sue Steele and Josh Pone. New members, Ryan Brosnan and, soon enough, Randy Coburn. We are going to skip past a couple items. First, introductions. I think we're familiar with that from the last meeting. The approval of the minutes from December 15th, we have to park those until we have enough members, present. So we're gonna move past that. The executive director's report, unless there's anything that anyone wants, that you want to speak up to that.
Randy, you can do it as director.
Yeah, well, that technically is put in a new business. So now into new business, we have the annual meeting resolution. We're just gonna go through, pardon me, we're gonna go through a couple things. Okay, so sections 1, 2, and 3, accepting mission statement, performance measures, et cetera. Section 3 is a big one, accepting the annual audit that we met earlier at the Finance Committee. Section 4, we have annual officer election. For the sake of keeping things consistent, I'd like to know if everyone is comfortable with the same positions. So that puts myself at chair. Remind me who we're doing again. We have Ryan is vice chair, and we have Albert as treasurer, and Stephanie as secretary.
Are you gonna kick the committees again?
I think the governance, so Audit and Finance Committee is committee of the whole. Governance Committee, yes, we're gonna kick that one. So section 6, appointment of staff is, we are putting forth Randy Coburn as the executive director and chief executive officer of the CRC. And I believe he accepts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
And sections, I don't remember which one's which, but let's see, section 8 would be the parish report. Yes.
This is the only one, we have 3 volunteers with RPI and we're all in good standing.
Any,
Quickest summary there.
are there any questions, about the parish report? No. Okay, great. So, thank you for letting me rush through that. Are there any questions or anyone unclear? I don't want, before I rush into it, I don't feel like I've rushed, but until we go into the vote for this. Anyone? Okay. We are putting forth a, let me get the wording on this right, the annual one. We are putting forth a resolution for the City of Troy Capital Resource Corporation accepting the corporation audit for the fiscal year 2023, adopting and re-adopting certain reports, policy standards, and procedures relating to the Public Authorities Accountability Act 2005, as amended by Chapter 506 of the laws of 2009 of the State of New York. We have elected board officers. We have appointed board committee positions with the acceptance of the governance committee, which we are putting forth at the next meeting with more members present. And we are reappointing the corporation staff, and we have related materials attached. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion?
Thank you, Latasha. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Albert. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? No. A number of absences. And the resolution passes. Old business. Anything to bring, well, I don't think we have any updates from any of the RPI students in that project, nothing like that.
They just haven't taken a check yet.
Yeah, okay. Includes old business. Unless anybody has anything with that, sorry. Into financials with Matt.
Board statement of financial position, as of February 29th, we have total assets of $397,110, with $182,410 net cash. We had total liabilities of $10,000, our fund balance was $387,410. There's no change to the statement of financial position for the month of February. Lastly, we have our statement of activity. For the month of February, we had a surplus of $120.34. The most significant source of revenue was the interest earnings
and audit expense are the monthly accounts.
Thank you, Matt. Does anybody have any questions on this, financials?
Just, what's the payable? 10,000.
That was Roy Farmers Market. We originally sent out a check last year. That check got lost in the mail, so we reissued the check.
Okay. Great, do we have a motion to approve the financials? Thank you, Albert. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes. Are we, okay with adjournment? And do we have a motion? I'll motion.
You've been in all day, huh?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hey, that was quick.